Hey guys, this is Cobus. Today I want to show you this cool little groove that I stumbled upon while practicing. I really like kind of 16th note grooves where you play 16th notes on the hats with one hand and then you kind of like funk it up and make it really funky. I'd say a big part of that inspiration came from Travis Barker. I've always seen him play stuff like that and I've always loved that. And so I was kind of messing around with that kind of approach and I started messing around with where I place the backbeat, like where I place the snare hits. And I displaced one of the snare hits, the second one. I'm gonna say this was on purpose. Let's say this was on purpose. Totally not by accident. On purpose, I displaced one of the backbeats by 1/16th note, and it gave it this really kind of, it sounded kind of like an odd time, but it really isn't. But it gave it this really kind of eloping, kind of funky feel. And so, like I said, it's very simple. Broken down, what is happening is that I'm just playing straight up 16th notes on the hats. I do leave out 1/16th note somewhere in this groove, but we'll get to that. But basically 99.9% of the time, what I'm doing is leading the groove with 16th notes on the hats with my right hand, and I'm playing the straight up backbeat, but the second snare stroke is displaced by 1/16th note. So before I get into that kind of stuff, I'm just going to show you exactly what I do. The simplest version of this groove is this. So to break it down as simple as I can, I'm just going to play what I'm doing on the hats. So I'm going to take my foot off the pedal, and I'm going to put my left hand on my leg, and I'll just play what's happening on the hats. What makes this semi kind of interesting is the fact that, like I said, there's 1/16th note that I kind of cheat out of this groove. It just feels easier for me to do that when I'm displacing that second backbeat on the snare. So I'm just going to play it, but you'll see exactly what I mean when I play it. So I'm just going to play the groove exactly as it is, without the kick and without the snare, just focusing on the hats. So the 16th note that I take out very casually and very much on purpose is on the E of 4. And the reason why I do this, I didn't know this initially, but I realize now that the reason why I do this is because I need to raise up my left hand to produce that, that second snare stroke, that accent, and the stick would be in the way. And so that's why I take out the little note on the hats. But like I said, I didn't approach this from like a mathematical, technical standpoint. I didn't think I'm gonna have to take out the 16th note on the E of 4 for this groove to work. I was just playing this groove and messing around with it, and naturally that's what happened. So otherwise, aside from taking out that one little 16th note, this whole groove is being led by 16th notes on the hats. Now I'll show you what I do on the snare. So I will take out the hats. I'm gonna move my right hand onto my leg. I'm gonna take my foot off the pedal, and I'll just play what I'm doing on the snare. I'll count you in so that you can hear exactly where I place these two strokes on the snare. And so just notice where I'm kind of moving the second backbeat, the second snare note. I'm moving it forward with 1/16th note. That's why I'm just going to play it on my leg so that I know where I am. But like I said, I'm just going to take my foot off the pedal and I'm going to play on my leg and just play the snare for you guys. So you'll see that first snare hit is super simple. It's the conventional way where you would always play the snare hit. The second one is kind of a little bit more tricky, and what makes it kind of a little funky and maybe a little bit difficult initially to come to grips with is the fact that I'm playing a ghost note right before an accent. And so the reason why I was messing around with this particular groove and trying to fit something like that into a groove is because I am busy actually really focusing on my stupid hand, which is my left hand. And what I've been doing a lot of is doing that, playing a ghost note, a soft note, before an accent, a loud note. And that's really challenging. That was extremely challenging for me at the beginning, but I'm getting so much more comfortable with that. It's really helping my left hand. But that kind of approach, trying to play that combination of notes, a soft one and then a loud one, so close to each other, is what kind of led me to this groove in the first place. So as you could see, the first snare stroke within this pattern is super simple. It's conventional, exactly where you would expect it to be. The second one, I play the ghost note where you would expect the accent to be, and then I follow that ghost note with an accent. So that's what kind of makes it a little tricky. I'm displacing the accent with 1/16th note, and in its place, I'm adding a little ghost note. So that's what kind of makes it a little tricky. The next thing that I want to show you is what I'm doing on the kick. Super simple. So I'm going to take out the snare and the hats, and I'll just play the kick pattern. But like I said, this is very simple. This is the simplest part of this whole groove. So those two notes on the kick is on the 1E and the 3E. Like you heard me just play it, it's extremely simple. It's by far the simplest part of this pattern. And so if you play that kick pattern led by 16th notes on the hats, leaving out that one little 16th note if you want to. That's what I'm doing, because it just makes it simpler for me. But that's what I do. I just leave out that one little 16th note on the E of 4. And then that first snare stroke is very conventional, predictable. Second snare stroke is ghost note, and then accent. One more thing is that I open up the hats slightly, not a ton, but I just kind of make them sizzle on the end of one. The reason why I do this is because I'm just messing around with the groove and kind of trying to give it a little bit more dynamics. And once you have the core of the groove under control and you feel comfortable with it, start messing around with ghost notes and like little nuances on other pieces of the kit. You can even move it to the right if you want to. But once you've got the core version of the groove down, I would say start experimenting with it. So what I'm going to do now is I'm just going to take that kind of core version of the groove, the simpler version, and just start messing around with it and seeing kind of where I can add some ghost notes and what naturally happens when I just kind of start messing around with the groove. So yeah, I'm just going to do that, and I'll see you guys in the next lesson.